My name is Madison Adams. I'm 29 years old, and I run a digital marketing company that makes over $10 million a year. No MBA, no fancy degree, no Silicon Valley backers, just long nights, big dreams, and a laptop I used to run on a secondhand desk in a tiny apartment. But no matter what I built, no matter how many awards I won, there was one person who never saw me as enough. Eleanor, my mother-in-law. To her, I was just a girl with a laptop. Not a real businesswoman. Not wife material for her precious Ethan. She loved to whisper at family gatherings. She didn't even go to college. I still don't know what she does all day. Ethan's a surgeon. Can you imagine what people think when they see who he married? At first, I tried to win her over. I dressed the way she liked. I brought wine she favored. I even offered to help organize her charity events, free of charge. But nothing worked. Then came the dinner. Ethan's extended family was in town. Overachievers, lawyers, Ivy grads. The kind of crowd Eleanor worshipped. I planned everything. Cooked from scratch. Set the table with her favorite china. Turned down 3 meetings just to be fully present. Everything was perfect. Until I stepped away for 2 minutes to approve a high-priority media buy worth 6 figures. And in that tiny moment, Eleanor struck. She has no education, no real job. She plays on a computer while Ethan saves lives. She doesn't belong in this family. She said it loud. On purpose. In front of everyone. And that was it. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I stood up, looked her in the eyes and said, "Okay." Then I packed a weekend bag, kissed Ethan on the cheek, and walked out the door. That night, I drove to my second home in Chicago, the one Eleanor didn't even know I owned, and I made a decision. No more proving myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. That wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. I arrived at my Chicago condo around midnight. Glass walls, city skyline, quiet luxury. It's my second home, the one I bought with my own money. No mortgage, no shared deed, just me, my peace, and 3,000 square feet of proof that I was never just a girl with a laptop. I dropped my bag, made tea, and opened my laptop, the same one Eleanor mocked. And within minutes, I was back in my world. 6 emails from brand directors, 2 proposals from global retailers, a spreadsheet showing we'd crossed $10.4 million in gross revenue this quarter. I smiled. I wasn't running a blog. I was running a business. An empire. What Eleanor and people like her never understood is that this wasn't luck. This wasn't cute. It was strategy, persistence, and an obsession with delivering results. I built my company from the ground up. While they rolled their eyes at social media work, I was scaling ad campaigns that generated millions for Fortune 500 brands. The next morning, I joined a Zoom call with my leadership team, 10 people from 5 time zones. We talked KPIs, launch strategies, expansion to Southeast Asia. We weren't guessing. We were executing. That's when I realized something. I don't need them to understand me. I just need them out of my way. Still, I knew it wasn't over. Ethan texted later that day. "She's acting like nothing happened. Said you were being emotional. Said you stormed off." I didn't reply right away. Instead, I forwarded him our company's annual press release, the one with Forbes quoting me as one of the youngest female entrepreneurs to redefine digital marketing at scale. He texted back, "You're a damn powerhouse, I'm proud of you." I stared at his message for a moment, because here's the truth. I already knew I was powerful, but it's always nice when the person you love says it out loud. And as for Eleanor, she was about to learn what real silence looks like. 2 days later, I got the call. It was from Eleanor. Blocked number. Of course, I let it go to voicemail. She sounded sweet. Artificially sweet. The kind that drips in passive-aggressive syrup. "Hi, Madison. I think we got off on the wrong foot the other night. I didn't mean to upset you. I was just being protective of my son. I'd really like to talk. Just us girls. Lunch, maybe." I didn't respond, but I did send a short text to Ethan. "If your mother wants to talk, it will be on my terms." he replied instantly. Understood. You call the shot. I've got your back. 3 days later, we met. Neutral location. A coffee shop near the lake. No distractions. No witnesses. She showed up overdressed. Pearls, red lipstick, smile that didn't reach her eyes. Madison, you look well. I always do, I said calmly. We sat. She launched into pleasantries. Asked about how my little business was going. Said she was happy to see I was still doing my computer stuff. I let her talk. Then I stopped her. Eleanor, let's be clear. I didn't come here for tea. I came to set a boundary. She blinked, caught off guard. I don't need your approval. I don't need your advice. And I definitely don't need your commentary on what I wear, what I earn, or how I spend my time. Madison, No, you don't get to speak over me anymore. Her mouth closed. I leaned in. What happened at that dinner was the last time you will ever humiliate me in public. The next time you speak about me like that, we're done. Ethan can visit you. But I won't. Not in person, not in spirit, not in name. She stared at me, stunned, and I smiled. You wanted to talk? Now you've heard me, and this time, I know you're listening. I stood up, finished my coffee, and walked out. This wasn't about making her understand. It was about making sure she knew, the woman she once dismissed, now sets the terms. By the weekend, the whispers had already started. Ethan's cousin Jenna texted me. Hey, your MIL's been telling everyone you lashed out and embarrassed her at a coffee shop? That true? I didn't reply. A day later, Ethan's aunt messaged. I don't know what happened with Eleanor, but she keeps saying you've changed. That you're disrespectful now. Just checking in. I still didn't reply, because I had nothing to prove. Let her talk. Let her play the victim. I'd learned something powerful. Silence, when backed by results, is louder than any defense. So instead of engaging, I focused on my business. That week, I gave a keynote speech at a major digital marketing summit. 3,000 attendees. Cameras. Applause. My slides included a chart that showed how we took a struggling skincare brand from $40,000 per month to $1.2 million per month in 90 days. It went viral on LinkedIn. So did the behind-the-scenes photo of me on stage, captioned, "From laptop in my kitchen to leading 8-figure campaigns. You don't need a degree to build a legacy." Even Ethan shared it, with one sentence. Proud of my wife. She built an empire no one saw coming. That post did more damage to Eleanor's version of the story than any confrontation ever could. Suddenly, cousins who used to nod politely were liking my posts. Old in-laws who once asked, "So, what do you do?" were messaging me for marketing advice. Eleanor? Radio silent. Eventually, she sent Ethan a message. I didn't realize how important her work really was. I may have misjudged. He showed me. I read it once, then deleted it. She didn't misjudge, I told him. She just never bothered to look. And now? She couldn't look away, because the world was watching me rise, while she was stuck in her own echo chamber. Thanksgiving came faster than I expected. Eleanor extended an invitation through Ethan. Everyone's coming, she said. Tell Madison she's welcome too. Let's move forward. I almost declined. Almost. But then I remembered. Silence was no longer my strategy. Presence was. I didn't need to prove anything. But I also didn't need to hide. So I said yes. The day of the dinner, I dressed simply, tailored, elegant, confident. No designer logos, no dramatic entrance, just me, walking into a room full of people who once smiled at Eleanor's jokes about laptop girls, and useless hobbies. I greeted them all politely. Made no fuss. Eleanor spotted me and lit up with an exaggerated smile. Madison, oh, we're so happy you made it. Come, tell everyone what you've been up to lately. Translation: let's test how much spotlight you can handle without cracking. I gave her the smallest smile. Just spoke at a summit last week, I said. Launched 2 global campaigns this month. We're closing the quarter above projections. Business is steady. Her smile twitched. Some cousins raised eyebrows. Wow, one of them said. That's impressive. Eleanor chimed in, tone sugar-coated. You know, it's so nice to see you finally doing something meaningful with your little company. I could have corrected her, could have pulled up our Forbes feature, or mentioned that we just bought out a smaller agency for $2.4 million in cash. But I didn't. Instead, I turned to Ethan's aunt, who had always been quietly skeptical, and asked, "Would you like a copy of the case study we did for the campaign you were asking about last week? I brought a few printouts." I handed her a polished folder. Real results, clear metrics, a signed thank you from the CEO of a luxury skincare brand. The room fell quiet. Not because I was loud, but because my work was... Eleanor blinked, sat down, said nothing, and just like that, I didn't have to raise my voice. I just had to show up. After the Thanksgiving dinner, we drove back to the city in silence. Not the heavy, tense kind, the peaceful, reflective kind. The kind that only comes after you walk through a fire and realize you didn't even smell like smoke. Ethan reached over and squeezed my hand at a red light. You were incredible tonight. I smiled. I didn't really say much. Exactly, he said. You didn't have to. We got home, kicked off our shoes, poured a little wine, and sat on the balcony. The city buzzed beneath us, but our world was still... Then he said something he'd never said before. You know what always hurt the most? Watching them ignore you. I turned to look at him. His eyes weren't angry, just honest. I'd see the way you tried, the way you helped, gave, showed up, and still got brushed aside. And I hated it. But I also knew, if I said too much, it'd sound like I was just defending my wife. So you stayed quiet, I said. He nodded. Yeah. But I was watching the whole time. Every late night you worked, every client you signed, every win you didn't brag about. And the truth is, they don't deserve you. That hit harder than any praise ever could. Because Ethan had always been supportive. But this was acknowledgement, not just as his wife, but as a woman who built something that no one else understood until it was too big to ignore. You don't need their respect, he continued. But for what it's worth, I'm the proudest man in that entire room, and not because you made millions, because you stayed kind when you had every reason not to. I didn't cry, but something in me softened, not because I needed validation, but because the one person who truly knew my journey finally said out loud what I'd always hoped he saw. 2 days after Thanksgiving, I got a DM on Instagram. It was from Ethan's cousin, Lily, 19 years old, first year of college, quiet, always sitting at the edge of family gatherings like she wanted to disappear. I almost didn't open it. But something told me to. Hi, Madison. I hope this isn't weird. I just wanted to say I think you're amazing. The way you carried yourself at dinner. I've never seen anyone shut people down with that much grace. I want to be like that. I want to learn. Then came the question, would you ever be open to mentoring me? I'm majoring in marketing and don't really know where to start. I stared at the screen. Lily. The girl no one noticed. The girl who sat quietly while the adults talked about real careers and mocked anything that didn't require a stethoscope or courtroom. And now she wanted to learn from me? I messaged her back. You don't need anyone's permission to be powerful, but you do need a plan. Let's meet. We grabbed coffee later that week. She came with a notebook full of questions. She listened like her future depended on it. She asked about client strategy, growth funnels, pitching herself, and how to shut down doubters with data. At one point she said, "I used to think I needed a degree to be taken seriously. But now I see I need results." I smiled. "You don't have to shout to be respected, Lily. You just have to deliver." And for the first time, I saw it in her. That spark, the one that lit inside me years ago, when I was still unknown, still doubted, still hungry. That day I realized something important. My story wasn't just mine anymore. My silence at that family table hadn't just made a statement. It had opened a door. It was Lily who told me. "Aunt Eleanor's been asking about you a lot lately." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh? She wanted to know what you talked to me about. Asked if you gave me a job or something." I laughed softly. "I gave you something better," I said. "Perspective." Lily grinned. Yeah, she didn't know what to do with that answer. Apparently, Eleanor was confused. Confused why her once shy niece now carried herself taller. Why Lily brought up my business at dinner with pride. Why the rest of the family had started treating me like a peer, not a guest. She even asked Ethan if I'd consider coming over for a quiet dinner. No expectations. Ethan told me carefully like he wasn't sure how I'd react. "She says she's trying," he shrugged. "But she doesn't know how." And here's the thing. I believed that. I believed Eleanor was trying. But I also knew this. Trying doesn't undo years of dismissal. Trying doesn't erase every time she smiled while cutting me down. Trying doesn't rebuild what she never thought would break. So I said what felt right. "Tell her thank you, but I'm full." Full? Of peace, of boundaries, of people who actually value what I bring. I don't need to fill a plate at a table where I was always served silence. Ethan didn't argue, because he finally understood what I'd known for years. Sometimes, the strongest love isn't the one that forgives everything. It's the one that knows when to stop chasing crumbs. Eleanor hadn't lost a daughter-in-law. She had lost the chance to sit at the table with a woman who built an empire, and stayed kind doing it. And now, she was watching from the outside, while the girl she once mocked was becoming someone others wanted to become. A few weeks later, I sat in my Chicago office alone, staring out over the skyline. It was late. The kind of quiet hour where the city breathes slow and ambition hums beneath the surface. I thought about where I'd started. A second-hand laptop. A shared Wi-Fi signal from a noisy apartment. Coffee-fueled nights with no roadmap, no mentor, no blueprint. Just instincts and hunger. And now, an 8-figure company. A global team. Partnerships with brands I used to admire from afar. But the success I felt that night wasn't in the numbers. It wasn't in the bank account, the press features, or even the keynote stages. It was in Lily's notebook, filled with scribbled notes from our sessions. It was in Ethan's quiet pride when I spoke without shrinking. It was in the silence I chose, the boundaries I kept, and the peace I protected. That's what no one tells you about real success. It's not loud. It's not desperate. It doesn't chase approval. It builds in the background. It echoes in the confidence of the women who watch you. It ripples in the decisions you make when no one's clapping. I used to think success was finally getting Eleanor to say, "I'm proud of you." Now, I don't need her to say it, because I say it to myself. "I'm proud of you, Madison," I whispered to my reflection, "not for proving anyone wrong, but for proving yourself right." In a world that told me I was small, I built something unstoppable, and I didn't scream about it. I let the work speak. If you're watching this, maybe you're her, the girl in the corner, the woman who built her life in silence, the one who's been dismissed, doubted, or laughed at because she didn't look like success. Maybe they told you, "That's not a real job. You're wasting your time. She's just playing on her computer." So did mine. And still, I rose, not to prove them wrong, but to prove me right. Because real power doesn't scream. It builds, brick by brick, click by click, late night after late night. And by the time they notice, you've already lapped them 3 times over. You don't need their applause. You don't need their invitation to sit at their table. Build your own. Pull up your own chair. And if someone else like you shows up late and nervous, wondering if she belongs, make room. Because here's what I know now. The people who doubted me, the ones who called me small, lazy, a lowlife, they were never the audience I was building for. I was building for her. The next Madison. The next girl who's starting with nothing but a spark and a screen. So if that's you, keep going. Let them talk. And when it's your turn to walk into the room, walk like you own it. Because if you've built your life on purpose, passion, and peace, you already do.